Hey guys, what's happening? So we're back for more One World Under Doom with Red Hulk issue 3. And now with Thunderbolt Ross breaking out of Doom's Latvian dungeon, he's coming after Doom and he's not going to let anything stop him. So with that said, if you're enjoying these videos, be sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and don't forget to hit that bell up top to get all notifications. Alright, so coming back for Red Hulk issue 3, this picks up on what we saw where Thunderbolt Ross, Deathlock, Machine Man, and General Simon Riker were trying to make their escape from Doom's think tank dungeon located inside of Latveria, where they've been held against their will amongst a number of others. But this group only made it outside to find themselves confronted by an insane number of Doombots who all came together to make one Mega Doombot, which then led to Emperor Doom sending a message through them where Doom told Ross to either fall in line or be executed for treason. Which takes us right into this monologue from Ross with him saying, most people have a map inside them. That map starts with home. Everything else in their little lives, school, work, the gym, grocery store, spreads out of that center. I'm not most people. The map inside me is bigger, much bigger. The center of it, my home, is the United States of America. The borders of my country are like a fence line in my head. Anything outside is a potential threat. I study my potential threats so that I know them as well as I know my own backyard. You know your way to the gym, I know my way around the Gobi Desert. You know how to get to your church, I know how to get out of the Congolian rainforests. I say this as a soldier, and I say this as Red Hulk. I have marched and fought and studied my way across more of this globe than most, committing every square click I can to memory. This is how I stayed sane when Dr. Doom imprisoned me. I might have been confined to a cell, but my mind roamed as I played out various wartime scenarios, knowing I would one day be free. So yeah, this basically sums up what we've seen unfold from Incredible Hulk Legacy issue 800 all the way up to now, because given the current circumstances, Ross goes on to say, I'm still not there. I'm still not free, but at least I'm out of that dungeon. And also with this quick look into how Thaddeus Ross thinks, it's kind of a reminder why Doom wanted him in this think tank to begin with, because Doom can use all of that information either for negotiations, with him knowing so much about the other countries and their militaries, so when he was talking to the different world leaders, Doom knew which buttons to push to tap into the already existing hate and fear that was all over the world after Bloodhunt. But also by keeping Ross locked away and separating him from any radiation or even sunlight, this also kept the Red Hulk out of Emperor Doom's way, because even now with Ross and the others breaking out of this dungeon, he needs radiation so he can charge back up and Hulk out. So to accomplish this mission, if you will, for the time being he's got to accomplish this like a general would, and Ross believes that a general is only as strong as his troops, where in this case his troops are as follows, starting with Machine Man, a mechanical soldier created by the roboticist Dr. Abel Stack. He's got Deathlock, a reanimated soldier, a former colonel, who's also a killing machine, and after that there's Dr. Simon Riker, a US Navy general, a genius roboticist, who Ross would also describe as a real prick. So yeah, this is what he has to make do with. And I mean, in the case of Machine Man, he's depleted his battery just to get them all this far. So he's not going to be much of any help till they get him charged up again. But right now, after getting the radio message from Doom, broadcasted to these guys from the huge assembly of Doombots, the Doombots have now just reverted back to repeating put your hands behind your head, form a single line, and return to the prison or face immediate execution. So Ross and the others, they gotta do something and they gotta do it quick. And this is where Ross tells General Riker and Deathlock that he needs to absorb radiation to kickstart the Red Hulk since he's been locked up for so long. And he knows that there's a nuclear power plant 100 clicks from where they are, because for several decades, Ross has already imagined the scenario of going to war with every country on the planet, including Latveria. So he knows where they gotta go to get what he needs. And he can tell just by looking around, it's all in his head. But when he says this, General Riker, he more or less tries to pull rank here. Cause he's like, listen, General Ross, or were you stripped of that ranking? You seem to think you're in command of this operation. We are outmanned, outgunned, and poorly positioned, which just leads to Riker pushing Ross off of the cliff. And Deathlock's more or less like, yeah, that's something Riker would do. Cause Riker's just like, you know, forget all this for my country stuff. This is every man for himself. Our best chance is to split up. Good luck to y'all. And right after that, Riker, he takes off, only to have the Doombots zap this guy so fast, like they were just waiting for a reason to hit him first. But as it turns out, this selfish stunt that General Riker had pulled, it ends up helping Ross and the others, because soon after Deathlock, he jumps after Ross, while bringing Machine Man along for the tumble, but now the Doombots have to come around and catch back up. So Ross tells Deathlock to try and aim for the snowfield below, and mainly because of all the commotion and the electric field created by the Doombots, this is all setting up the conditions for a small avalanche. So with Ross just guessing that the Doombots rely on a combination of motion capture and thermal imaging, he just figured that they could use this as cover, so the three of them could get moving without the Doombots knowing which direction they went. And in Ross's case, it does help that he's more durable than a man of his age should be, so he's able to get back on his feet not too long after taking this tumble. And as soon as they get moving, the first thing Ross does is ask Deathlock if he has a working radio, because Ross wants him to send an SOS to the United States Air Force, and he gives Deathlock the numbers for the specific frequency, the spacing and all that, and he's like, hey, tell the United States Air Force I'm a prisoner of war in need of extraction. And Ross says here, tell them to prepare for a wider military operation against Latveria, because Ross wants to bring the heat here on a serious level. But the problem is, and I'm sure many of you guys might have guessed it at this point, but the problem is Ross doesn't know the current state of what's going on around the world right now outside of Latveria, because he's been there in isolation for quite some time, well before One World Under Doom even kicked off. And that's why when he has Deathlock send out the SOS, Emperor Doom, who's currently at the United Nations General Assembly in New York City, he gets word of this SOS delivered straight to him. And it's kind of funny how when this happens, Doom's here saying, we will not be voting on peace and security, but you are welcome to bring forward any concerns I should be made aware of. Know that I have anticipated every possible scenario. And the funny thing is, we know how he's anticipated every possible scenario. But when he goes on to say here, we should be ushering in an era of stability greater than any in world history. This is where he gets the update whispered in his ear, like, you know, Mr. Emperor, sir, we got a situation. You know, like the red egg has fallen from the nest, or something along those lines. So Doom tells the assembly they'll take an hour recess, because there's a matter that requires his immediate attention. Because that SOS that Ross had sent out, even though it was meant to go to the United States Air Force, for them to receive exclusively. Due to the treaties that Emperor Doom has set in place, the Air Force isn't allowed to take action. And not only that, but any information going to the United States Air Force, it's going to the United Latveria now. So later on when the military responds, their words aren't exactly what Ross wanted to hear. And we see this when we go back to him in Deathlock, where Ross is making some sort of makeshift weapon from like a broken antler. And this is where Deathlock tells him, like, man, I got some bad news. Your military buddies responded, and I'm just gonna let you hear it for yourself. And all this response says is we're unable to acknowledge this message due to the current treaty. And this response is coming from a camp in Kosovo. But I like how when Ross hears this, he doesn't immediately like put everything together, because for a moment he's like, what treaty? Just try it again, another base will respond. And Deathlock's just like, yeah, so I tried that. I tried a dozen others, and they all said the same thing. So right here, Ross is like, we'll try it again and do something different, make some adjustments. But Deathlock's just like, you want to know what I think, General? Doom made his move. Everything we're doing in there, all the drills, all the war games, all those simulations he ran us through in those altered states. What if it came true? And I mean, it makes sense that they would eventually figure this out before actually getting out, because that kind of goes back to the whole reason why they were all brought here in the first place. Because of what they know and how well they're able to turn information into tactics and work around unknown variables. But as soon as they come to this realization, which still has a way to go because they still got to learn more about what Doom's doing, but as soon as they start to figure this out, a group of Doombots trace back the source of the radio transmission that Deathlock sent earlier. So now these Doombots are coming in hot. And since Machine Man is not much of any use at the moment, Deathlock just uses his body as a weapon, because they can just tell Machine Man once they get him powered up, or not, and just be like, oh man, them Doombots did you dirty, man, look at you. And Ross makes sure to get his hits in too. And since these Doombots have like a hive system where they all communicate to one another, Ross sends a message through this Doombot saying, I don't know if this message will get through to your maker, but understand this, I might be running now, but I'm going to come for him. I'm coming for Doom. And just after this, Deathlock goes on to use Machine Man to take out the last Doombot. And as soon as he does, Ross is just like, we gotta get out of here right now, because these Doombots have a hive mind. So more of them are definitely on the way. But the next step of his plan, as far as how they're gonna make their way to the nuclear plant, that step involves them stepping off of a cliff. So where from there, the river will act as their vehicle to the nuclear power plant. And man, Deathlock just basically tells Ross, like, if you jump in that river, your old body's just gonna turn into a dust cloud on impact. And I mean, he doesn't say it like that, but more or less. But even Deathlock's computer says that the water temperature will cause General Ross to go hypothermic within minutes. But Ross is just like, I don't kill easy, and he takes the jump, because he knows as soon as he gets charged back up and he gets the Red Hulk back on the battlefield, he's not gonna let anything stop him, and definitely not those Doombots, because like he said, he's going for Doom. And speaking of Doom, it's around this time when Emperor Doom makes his way to Latveria. So the Doombots fill him in by saying General Ross's location is unknown, but his destination was picked up by our surveillance. There's a nuclear power plant 100 clicks from here. We will guard the facility against any incursion. But what's crazy is when Doom hears this, he's not worried about it, because he just tells him there's no need to guard it, when I as Sorcerer Supreme can simply wipe it off the map. So yeah, with Doom showing up, this takes the level of difficulty through the roof for General Ross and the others. And I'm anxious to see how this plays out, because even if General Ross gets to the plant before Emperor Doom, this is still Emperor Doom we're talking about here, the Sorcerer Supreme. So either way, Thunderbolt Ross is going to have to be clever with his next move. But yeah, with that said, drop a like if you enjoyed the video, and let me know in the comments if you think Emperor Doom's going to get all this done under an hour. Because like we saw before, the man's got places to be. He's got people waiting on him. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here, who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. All right, later.